Welcome to our channel. For more information about weight loss and diet, please click the first link in the description. Many people wonder if it is true that bread makes you fat. In this article, therefore, we want to answer this question and explain more about the mechanism of satiety. A very common question is whether bread is a fattening food. It should then be noted that there are no foods that make you fat or lose weight, but it is rather the result of a calorie balance. However, the influence of each food on insulin secretion and satiety can lead to eating more or gaining weight. Indeed, bread is a food that is mainly composed of carbohydrates. The energetic power of a 100 grams serving is approximately 300 to 400 calories. It can be consumed as part of a healthy diet without causing weight gain. Nonetheless, it tends to have a high glycemic index, especially if it is made with wheat and refined flour. This then results in a spike in insulin followed by posterior reactive hypoglycemia. The consequence of consuming bread in isolation is momentary satiety as well as a subsequent increase in appetite. It is therefore a food that is not very satiating in itself. This can then lead to excessive consumption. Bread is generally a food that is not used properly. The idea of accompanying meals with bread leads to an uncontrolled increase in energy intake, which is often not even taken into account. Therefore, bread can be eaten, in moderation, but always as the main part of the dish. So, a sandwich is the main menu, or even an empanada or a pizza. Be aware that it is always bad to add it as an accompaniment to a dish. On the other hand, it is often used to dip it in a sauce. This significantly increases the caloric value of the dish. In addition, his appetite can lead to consuming more food than necessary, thus overcoming the appetite barrier. Likewise, it is a product that is generally not taken into account when evaluating a diet. Many people eat bread as a main meal, but are unaware that it is a caloric element and eat it almost culturally. There are different types of breads, depending on their ingredients and preparation process. Therefore, bread made from wheat is different from rye bread. And sandwich bread is different from artisan bread. When it comes to eating bread, it is interesting to choose varieties made with whole grains, as unrefined as possible. In addition, those which are made in an artisanal way and which include several types of cereals in their recipe have a much higher nutritional quality. When planning a diet, in addition to taking into account the value of foods, it is interesting to assess their satiating power. Thus, it is better to avoid processed foods or foods high in sugars. In addition, proteins and fats have a greater capacity for satiety because they stimulate leptin and neuropeptide. In this way, reactive hypoglycemia is avoided subsequent to the ingestion of simple sugar, which leads to an increase in appetite. Foods rich in fiber cause distension of the stomach and intestines, stimulating the receptors responsible for transmitting the feeling of fullness. This is one of the reasons why priority is given to unprocessed foods. So, in addition to offering macro and micronutrient benefits, it allows for effective control of the glucose curve and appetite mechanism. When choosing foods rich in carbohydrates, you should choose whole grains. Indeed, whole grain breads have a high amount of fiber as well as a low glycemic index. Insulin production is therefore much less stimulated than with refined sugar. There are no foods that make you fat on their own, and bread is no exception. However, the way we consume bread is often bad, because we make it an accompaniment to our dishes. If it is introduced into the diet, it should be the main part of the dish. In addition, its consumption between meals should be avoided in order to prevent a subsequent increase in appetite. In general, it is worth avoiding foods rich in high glycemic index carbohydrates as well as processed foods. Fiber consumption then becomes essential to ensure the satiety mechanism and prevent the development of complex diseases.